Hello, my name is James Thompson, and I am the author and narrator of the following children's adventure stories, titled The Ant and the Caterpillar, and the sequel, The Rescue of the Butterflies. Protected by copyright. To all the children out there in Adventure Land, enjoy! The story of the ant and the caterpillar. It was a very warm and sunny day, yet the sky was a mixed colour of blue and grey. Jimmy Jum, the black ant, had just emerged from his home down below. He was beginning to climb up his favourite tree, which hung out over the river's edge, when his mother called out, "Jimmy Jum, don't you stray too far. There's a storm coming." "Okay," came the reply, but he ignored his mother's warning and kept on climbing up to his favourite branch, where he would spend his time watching the otters play in the river below. He was so intent on looking down that he didn't see the sudden darkening of the sky. The otters had not shown themselves, so maybe they had sensed the storm that was stalking the skies. Suddenly, a bright flash of lightning was followed by a deafening crack of thunder, signalling the arrival of the storm. Jimmy Jum turned and began to run back along the branch, but before he could reach safety, a second crack of thunder came and was followed by a heavy downpour of rain, which engulfed him. He was swept off the branch, sending him tumbling down towards the river. As he was falling, his mother's words echoed in his head, "Don't you stray too far." Luck was on his side. Instead of plunging into the swirling water, he landed on top of a floating leaf. Off he went, getting tossed about in the rough water. Another crack of thunder was followed by a downpour of rain. The leaf started to fill up with water. Soon it would sink. He stood up and called for help. Then he felt something bump into the side of the leaf. A voice shouted out, "Jump onto my back." It was a big caterpillar. As he jumped, the leaf disappeared under the water. "Hang on to the back of my head," shouted the caterpillar. "Hold tighter. We're heading into the rapids." It was a terrifying experience. Several times they disappeared under the water. If it hadn't been for the caterpillar, Jimmy Jum would have drowned. It was a miracle they came through the rapids alive. They drifted into some calm water, where the caterpillar was slowly washed up onto the beach. With Jimmy Jum still clinging to her back, and although she was exhausted, she knew she had to find some cover before a bird found her and gobbled them up. Slowly they made their way up the beach and hid under some driftwood. The storm passed and the sun came out, warming them up. The last thing the caterpillar said to Jimmy Jum was, "My name is Molly." Exhausted, they fell asleep. Some time later, they were awakened by the beautiful song of a mockingbird perched in a willow tree. Jimmy Jum stretched and stood up on his back legs, and looking into Molly's eyes, he said, "I want to thank you for saving my life. I should have never disobeyed my mother's warning." Molly replied, "What's important is that we learn from our mistakes." They came out from under the driftwood and made their way further up the beach. A change was about to come over Molly. Concerned, she said, "Jimmy Jum, I want you to listen carefully. A great and wonderful change is about to come over me," she said. "I am only a tiny black ant, but I will stay beside you until you return," replied Jimmy Jum. Slowly her eyes closed. The transformation was about to take place. Darkness fell around him. Jimmy Jum crept closer to Molly, and soon he was asleep. The next morning when he awoke, he was startled by the transformation that occurred. Molly was no longer visible. She had disappeared inside a beautiful green cocoon, and it sparkled in the morning sun. Jimmy Jum climbed up a nearby tree to begin his watch over his friend. Each day he would come down and check on Molly before returning to his lookout in the tree. As the days passed, he was watching for any signs of life or movement coming from the pupa. All was still and he was beginning to worry. A life-threatening event was about to occur. Suddenly, a loud call from a big crow shattered the silence. It landed upon the same branch where Jimmy Jum kept watch. Quickly he recognized the danger. The crow had seen the pupa shining on the ground and was looking downwards, ready to swoop and gobble it up. Jimmy Jum sprang into action. As tiny as he was, he had a plan. He raced towards the big crow, climbed up on its claw, and ran up its leg. Burrowing through the feathers, he reached the belly of the crow, and with all his strength, he bit the crow. The bird let out an awful shriek. It rose in a flurry of flapping wings and flew off. Jimmy Jum fell from the crow and spiraled down towards the ground. He thought this was the end, but once more fate was on his side. He tumbled into a buttercup. He climbed out onto the ground and raced as fast as he could towards Molly. He had to find a way to save her. It was then he remembered his mother pulling leaves and grass down into the nest. That's what he would do. He would cover Molly with leaves and grass and hide her from the crow. He knew at some time the bird would return. So he worked steadfastly, and soon Molly was hidden from view. She was concealed under a mound of grass and leaves. Once again he proved to himself, although he was tiny, he could accomplish anything. Exhausted, he burrowed under the leaves and fell asleep. The next day, Jimmy Jum decided to stay close to Molly so he could see any sudden movement coming from the pile of leaves. Early in the afternoon, he sensed something was about to happen. As he looked towards where Molly lay, some leaves moved and fell off the pile. More grass and leaves began to fall, and suddenly 2 big eyes appeared. Jimmy Jum started jumping up and down with happiness. Molly was alive and well. She was so excited at seeing him, she knew he must have been with her the entire time. She asked him why she was covered in leaves and grass. He then told her the story of the big crow. She was overwhelmed that such a tiny ant had been so brave and saved her life. Molly slowly emerged from the leaves, and there before Jimmy Jum's eyes stood a beautiful monarch butterfly. You may be a monarch, but I'm going to call you Princess Molly. Thank you, she said, as a tear fell from her eye. I am going to have to lie in the sun and dry my wings. When that is finished, would you like me to take you home? Yes, I want to see my mother again. Would that mean I'll never see you again? He asked. No, said Molly. I'll always come back and see you. When Molly's wings were dry, Jimmy Jum climbed onto her back. Hold on, she said to him. They rose off the ground and she began to sing.
Here we go, to and fro, up in the sky and away we go.
They flew, following the river, and eventually found Jimmy Jum's tree. When they landed, he climbed down onto his favourite branch, saying, I'll miss you, Molly. He ran along the branch shouting, Mother, have I got a story to tell you? Goodbye, Jimmy Jum. Goodbye, Princess. Molly ascended into the sky, singing her song.
Here we go, to and fro, up in the sky and away we go.
And off they went. The end. Thank you for listening. Stay tuned for part 2. The Rescue of the Butterflies. I would like to offer my sincere thanks to the following people who helped me with this project. Margaret Thompson, Sandra and Kelsey Elchuk, Elaine Thomaser, illustrator Jenny Duda, for her incredible depictions of the characters, Jennifer Bogart of Let's Talk Books for her gracious opinions of the stories. Last but certainly not least, Jenny Manchee, who herself is a writer, an editor and an artist, who gave me so much of her time and expertise in guiding me through my adventure of writing and storytelling. I thank you all so much.